I am going to show you specifically how we derive aggregate demand. We got it from our aggregate expenditure model. And if you're going, I don't remember doing that. That's your C plus I plus G plus XN. Now to show you how this works, I'm going to graph it out. And if you notice, I have stacked two graphs. And the reason why I'm doing that is, I want to show you three variables kind of moving in a two-dimensional space. So you're going to see me measure our GDP here, and at the very same time, I am measuring that same our GDP down here. Think of it this way. Let's say our GDP was 100 right here. It necessarily means in this space, this is also 100. So I am measuring the variables at the same time. Let me remove this. I'm going to use my Winky eraser. Now, what do we need to measure in our aggregate expenditure model? Well, firstly, you know aggregate expenditure, okay? So, let's put it here. And remember, this is your C plus I plus G plus XN that you're used to. Now, to give you a concept of how this works, I am going to put in a 45-degree line right here. If you're going, why? Why is that there? This line gives us some nice, neat properties. I'll show you. On this line, let's say I choose a point right here. And let's say it's 101.278. Because it's a 45-degree line, if this our GDP is 101.278, it necessarily means that this aggregate expenditure is also 101.278. It's a nice, neat geometric property. Okay? So keep that in the back of your mind. Every point on this line, our GDP and the aggregate expenditure, they are equal. Let me remove this. I'm gonna use my laughing eraser. Alright, we are now ready to go. We have a model with variables that we are used to. Now suppose, given that, keep in the back of your mind, on this 45-degree line, everything that's produced in the economy, the RGDP, is equal to the total spending in the economy. Think about that for a minute. Everything that's produced is equal to everything that the different agents in the economy spend. Total produced is equal to total spending. Every consumer, every investor slash business entity, all of the government expenditure, all of the net exports, total produced, total spending is equal. They're equal. It means on this 45-degree line, every point is an equilibrium. So if our economy look like this, for example, let's call it AI1, for aggregate expenditure 1, where it crosses the 45-degree line is an equilibrium GDP. Now, why is this important? Notice when I showed you the aggregate demand earlier, I showed you with our GDP and price. So let's get the price in here. Now think, you're a consumer. When you buy a cup of coffee, when you buy that new video game, don't you take into consideration the prices? So the only way this aggregate expenditure can exist is if we know the prices. Imagine if you went into Starbucks and all you saw was all those delicious drinks and no prices. You wouldn't be able to easily consume all of that. So this aggregate expenditure has to take into consideration prices. And let's pretend that these prices, let's give it an abstract value, kind of like a CPI. The overall prices in the economy, when we take into consideration everything that everybody is consuming, is, let's say, P1. It's kind of like saying the CPI is 150. Those are the average prices. Whatever this price is can be measured here because we're measuring price levels. So, whatever this price P1 is, let's put it here. I hope you see where I'm going. If this is the RGDP1, remember what I told you earlier, it necessarily means that this is also RGDP1. So, in this space, this RGDP1 coincides with which price level? P1, right here. That's a combination point, a price and an RGDP that matches. Now, let me throw a bit of a curveball in there. Suppose I made prices more expensive. Suppose we increase the prices in the economy. Think about this for yourself personally. If prices went up, would you be able to buy more stuff or less stuff? If you said less, you're right. If things are more expensive, then we're able to spend on less things. If prices go up, all the units in the economy cannot buy as much. I'm trying to let you know, if we made prices go up, this aggregate expenditure in the economy would have to go down. So if I raised up the price, this would happen. Let's call it AI2, the aggregate expenditure going down. Why did that happen? Because I raised up the prices. Let's call it P2, which is greater than P1. That's a higher price. Do we have a new equilibrium? Yes, we do. It's where the 45-degree line now meets the new aggregate expenditure. Let's call that our GDP2. Now, pay attention. What happened to prices at P2? It went up. Where do I put P2 relative to P1 if it's a higher price? Do I put it here? It's higher. Prices went up. Now, you remember, this is also our GDP2 in this space. Now be careful. Our GDP2 coincides not with P1, but with P2 right here. It's the prices going up while we had that new RGDP2. So this is the new point. I want you to practice this and keep going with prices, but you'll notice once you put it all together, you get a nice, neat pattern. That is your aggregate demand curve. This is the curve you're going to be using throughout the macroeconomic model. I hope this was helpful. Take care. Bye-bye.